My name is Alex, and I'm about to tell you the story of how I fell in love with my best friend, Carter. It started with something as ordinary as helping him shower after a basketball injury. But what happened between those bathroom walls? What we discovered about each other and ourselves? That was anything but ordinary. This is a story about vulnerability, fear, courage, and the kind of love that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. So if you're ready, let me take you back to that September evening when my entire world tilted on its axis. Let's begin. The autumn rain drummed against my apartment window as I scrolled mindlessly through my phone, half watching some forgettable show on Netflix. It was one of those lazy Sunday evenings where time feels suspended, where the world outside fades into a comfortable blur of gray, skies and distant thunder. Then my phone buzzed. Carter's name lit up the screen, and I felt that familiar warmth that always accompanied his messages. We'd been best friends since sophomore year of college, 3 years of late-night study sessions, terrible decisions at parties, heartbreak confessions, and the kind of laughter that makes your stomach hurt. He was the person who knew me better than anyone, who'd seen me at my worst and somehow still chose to stick around. "Hey, I know this is weird, but can you come over? I need help with something." I sat up straighter, concern immediately flooding through me. Carter never asked for help. He was the independent type, the guy who'd rather struggle through something alone than admit he needed anyone. Something had to be wrong. Of course. "Everything okay?" I typed back quickly. "Twisted my ankle pretty bad at pickup basketball. Can barely walk." And "Look, this is embarrassing, but I can't shower by myself. Mom's out of town, and you're literally the only person I'd feel comfortable asking." My heart did something strange in my chest, a flutter I couldn't quite name. The thought of Carter vulnerable, needing me, trusting me with something so intimate. It stirred something I'd spent 3 years carefully burying. Say no more. Be there in 20. I grabbed my keys and headed out into the rain. Carter's apartment was only 15 minutes away, in one of those older buildings with character-exposed brick, creaky wooden floors, and radiators that clanged like ghosts in winter. I'd been here countless times, but tonight felt different. My stomach twisted with nerves I couldn't explain as I climbed the familiar stairs to the 3rd floor. He answered the door leaning heavily on one crutch, his face slightly flushed with embarrassment. His dark hair was messier than usual, falling across his forehead in that way that always made him look younger, more vulnerable. He was wearing basketball shorts and a faded college t-shirt, and even disheveled. Even clearly uncomfortable, he was beautiful. I'd known Carter was attractive. Anyone with eyes could see that. But I'd trained myself not to see it, not to let my gaze linger on the strong line of his jaw. The way his eyes crinkled when he genuinely smiled, the casual grace of his movements. I'd become an expert at looking at him without really looking. "Thanks for coming," he said, hopping backward to let me in. "I know this is super weird." "It's not weird," I lied, closing the door behind me. "That's what friends are for, right? How bad is the ankle?" He grimaced, gesturing down at his left foot, which was wrapped in an elastic bandage and noticeably swollen. "Doctor said it's a bad sprain. No basketball for 6 weeks, and I need to keep weight off it as much as possible. I've been putting off showering for 2 days because I can't figure out how to do it without making it worse." Jesus, Carter. 2 days. I tried to sound teasing rather than concerned. "You must be feeling pretty ripe," he laughed, and some of the tension eased from his shoulders. I know. I'm disgusting. The thought of trying to balance on one foot in a wet shower, maybe falling and making the injury worse, and then having to explain to my mom how I ended up with a concussion on top of a sprained ankle. He shook his head. Not my finest moment of life planning. I set my jacket on his couch, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. "Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'll help you get in there. We'll figure out a system where you can sit or lean safely. And I'll help with anything you can't reach." Easy, he echoed. But his voice was uncertain. We stood there for a moment, the unspoken awkwardness hovering between us like a third presence. This was intimate territory we'd never navigated before. We'd shared a lot over the years. Fears, dreams, heartbreaks. Hangovers, but we'd never crossed into physical vulnerability like this. "Have you eaten?" I asked, suddenly desperate to delay the inevitable. Alex fixed me with those hazel eyes that always seemed to see right through me. "Stop stalling. I'm the one who should be nervous here." He was right. I took a breath and nodded. "Okay, let's do this." The bathroom was small, steam-ready, with a shower tub combination that had seen better days. Carter had already laid out towels, soap, shampoo, preparing like someone about to undergo surgery rather than just get clean. I was thinking I could sit on the edge of the tub, he suggested, his voice slightly higher than normal. "And maybe you could help me wash my hair." That's the part I really can't manage with the crutch. "That works," I agreed, trying to sound casual. "Whatever makes you comfortable." He sat down on the closed toilet lid and began working his shirt over his head. I deliberately turned to adjust the shower temperature, giving him privacy, even though we were about to obliterate any concept of privacy in approximately 3 minutes. The sound of fabric hitting the floor made my pulse spike. "Okay," he said softly. "This is officially the most embarrassing moment of my life." I turned back around, keeping my eyes carefully on his face. He was down to his boxers, sitting there with his muscular arms crossed over his chest in an unconsciously protective gesture. Despite his athletic build, despite his usual confidence, he looked young and uncertain. "Hey," I said gently, crouching down so we were at eye level. "It's just me. We've been through worse together, remember? Like that time you had food poisoning and I held your hair back for 4 hours?" He laughed, despite himself. "That was different. You couldn't see anything. I saw plenty," I deadpanned. "Both ends, if I recall correctly?" "Oh my God, stop." He was laughing now, genuinely, and the tension cracked just enough to breathe through. I stood and offered him my hand. "Come on, let's get you clean before you actually become a biohazard." He took my hand, his palm warm and slightly calloused from weightlifting, and I helped him stand, letting him lean on me as he worked his boxers down and kicked them aside. I kept my gaze fixed on the wall, the ceiling, anywhere but the vulnerable man beside me. "You can look, you know," he said quietly. "I mean, you're going to have to eventually." He was right, but my heart was hammering so hard I was sure he could hear it. I helped him to the tub's edge, steadying him as he sat down. Only then did I let myself really look at him, not with desire, I told myself, but with the clinical assessment needed to help him safely. His body was lean and strong, the result of years of basketball and gym sessions. A constellation of freckles dotted his shoulders. A scar on his knee from a childhood bike accident. He was beautifully, devastatingly human, and he was looking at me with complete trust. "Okay," I said, my voice rougher than intended. I'll start with your hair." I turned on the shower, adjusting the handheld shower head we'd need for this operation. The water ran warm over my testing hand, and steam began to fog the small mirror above the sink. Carter tilted his head back, closing his eyes as I brought the spray toward him. Water cascaded over his dark hair, running in rivulets down his face, his neck, his chest. His lips parted slightly to breathe, and I watched a drop of water trace the line of his jaw. I was in so much trouble. "Is temperature okay?" I managed to ask. "Perfect," he murmured, eyes still closed. I set the shower head aside and squeezed shampoo into my palm. The familiar scent of his usual brand, something woodsy and clean, filling the small space. Then I touched his hair. My fingers slid through the wet strands, and Carter made a small sound, almost a sigh that sent electricity down my spine. I worked the shampoo into a lather, my fingertips massaging his scalp in slow circles, and I felt him relax under my touch, his shoulders dropping, his breathing deepening. "That feels amazing," he said softly. I didn't realize how tense I was. My hands moved of their own accord, working through his hair with a tenderness I hadn't known I possessed. This was my best friend, I reminded myself. This was just helping him out. This meant nothing, except it didn't feel like nothing. It felt like the most intimate thing I'd ever done. "Alex." His voice was barely above a whisper. "Yeah." He opened his eyes, tilting his head to look up at me. Water droplets clung to his eyelashes, and his expression was something I couldn't read, vulnerable and searching, and something else entirely. "Thank you," he said, for being here. For not making this weirder than it already is. I swallowed hard. Always. You know that. He held my gaze for another moment, and I swear something passed between US's unspoken question. Some barely acknowledged recognition. Then he closed his eyes again, and the moment dissolved like steam. I rinsed his hair carefully, watching the soap suds swirl down the drain, and tried to ignore the way my hands were trembling. The rest of the shower passed in a haze of careful movements and controlled breathing. I helped him wash his back, his arms, the places he couldn't comfortably reach. He handled the rest himself with a washcloth, and I tried to give him as much privacy as the small space allowed, turning away when I could, focusing on the tiles, the ceiling, the completely fascinating grout between the tiles. But I was aware of every movement, every shift of his body, every soft breath. The bathroom had become its own universe, hot and close, and charged with something I didn't dare name. Almost done, he said finally. And there was relief in his voice, but also something that might have been disappointment. I helped him rinse off one last time. Then turned off the water. The sudden silence felt deafening. Can you hand me that towel? He asked, gesturing to the large gray towel hung on the rack. I grabbed it and wrapped it around his shoulders, then handed him a smaller one for his hair. He dried his face and arms while I carefully avoided looking at anything below his waist. I should probably... He gestured vaguely downward. Right, yeah, I turned around completely, facing the door, giving him a moment of privacy to dry himself, and wrap the towel around his waist. Okay, he said after a moment. Decent. Turned back to find him sitting on the toilet lid again, towel secured around his hips, his hair sticking up in damp, adorable spikes. He looked younger somehow, softer, and my chest ached with an emotion I'd been denying for 3 years. Feel better? I asked. So much better. He smiled at me, that genuine, full-wadded smile that had first made me want to be his friend all those years ago. Seriously, I owe you. Big time. You don't owe me anything, I said automatically. Pizza, he suggested. I'll order pizza. It's the least I can do after you just... He gestured vaguely at the bathroom. You know? I laughed despite the tension still coiled in my chest. Pizza sounds perfect. I helped him back to the couch, getting him settled with his injured ankle elevated on pillows. He'd changed into clean sweatpants and another t-shirt had waited in the living room. Scrolling through my phone and absolutely not thinking about the way water had run down his chest, the vulnerability in his eyes, trust he'd placed in my hands. The pizza arrived 45 minutes later, extra cheese. Pepperoni, the same order we'd been getting since college. We ate in comfortable silence for a while, some action movie playing in the background that neither of us was really watching. Can I ask you something? Carter said eventually, setting down his half-eaten slice. My heart rate picked up. Sure. He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Do you ever feel like you're waiting for something to happen? Like your life is in this holding pattern, and you're just going through the motions, waiting for some sign or permission to actually live? The question caught me off guard. Carter didn't usually talk like this. He was the confident one, the one who always seemed to have it figured out. Yeah, I admitted. All the time. Why? He stared at his pizza, his expression troubled. I've been thinking lately about the choices I've made, about who I am versus who I've been pretending to be. He looked up at me, his eyes intense. Does that make sense? My mouth went dry. It makes perfect sense. I feel like I've been holding something back, he continued, his voice getting quieter. From everyone? Even from you. Especially from you, maybe? The air in the room felt charged, electric. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Carter, I started, not sure what I was going to say. His phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He glanced at it and sighed. My mom. I should call her back. Let her know I'm okay. Of course, I said, trying to hide my disappointment. Or was it relief? I couldn't tell. He took the call. Talking to his mother with the easy affection they'd always shared, and I cleaned up the pizza boxes, grateful for something to do with my hands. When he hung up, The earlier intensity had passed, replaced by familiar tiredness. "I should probably let you get some rest," I said. Even though I didn't want to leave. "Yeah," he agreed, but he sounded reluctant too. "Thanks again. For everything. For coming over, for helping with the shower, for not making fun of my complete helplessness." "I would never," I said with mock seriousness. "Your helplessness is adorable." He threw a pillow at me and I caught it, laughing at the door. He balanced on his crutch and pulled me into a one-armed hug. I let myself sink into it for just a moment, breathing in the clean scent of his shampoo, feeling the warmth of his body against mine. "See you tomorrow?" he asked as we pulled apart. "I'll come by after work." "Make sure you haven't destroyed your apartment trying to make coffee." "My hero," he said dryly, but his smile was warm. I walked home through the rain, my mind spinning with everything that had happened, everything that had almost been said. The shower had been intimate, yes, but it was that conversation afterward that wouldn't leave my mind. I've been holding something back, especially from you. What had he meant by that? Was I reading too much into it, seeing what I wanted to see, because my own feelings were finally becoming impossible to ignore? That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, the trust in his eyes, the vulnerability of his body, the way he'd looked at me when I was washing his hair, the almost confession on the couch. Something had shifted between us in that small, steamy bathroom. Some boundary had been crossed, some truth had begun to surface, and I had no idea what to do about it. The next few days fell into an unexpected rhythm. I'd go to work, teaching high school English to teenagers who mostly just wanted to talk about their relationship drama. Oh, the irony. And then head straight to Carter's apartment to check on him. What started as practical help bringing groceries, helping him change his bandage, making sure he was eating actual meals instead of surviving on cereal, gradually transformed into something else. We'd always been close, but this felt different, more domestic, more intimate in ways that had nothing to do with that first shower. We'd watch movies curled up on his couch, our bodies unconsciously gravitating toward each other. We'd talk late into the night about everything and nothing, childhood memories, work frustrations, dreams we'd given up on, dreams we were still chasing. Sometimes he'd fall asleep with his head on my shoulder, and I'd sit there frozen, afraid to move and break whatever spell we were under. Carter needed help showering every other day, and each time felt both easier and more impossible. Easier because we'd established a routine, a comfortable system. Impossible because my awareness of him only intensified. The way he'd close his eyes under the water, completely trusting. The small sounds he'd make when I massaged shampoo into his scalp. The moments when our eyes would meet and something electric passed between us before one of us looked away. We never talked about it. We never acknowledged the growing tension, the way the air seemed to thicken whenever we were alone together. Until Thursday night, when everything changed. I arrived at his apartment around 7, letting myself in with the spare key he'd given me. The lights were dimmed, and I could hear music playing softly, something acoustic and melancholy that I didn't recognize. "Carter," I called out, setting down the Thai food I'd picked up on the way. In here came his voice from the living room. I found him on the couch, his injured ankle propped up as usual, but something was different. His posture was tense, his expression troubled. He'd been crying, his eyes were redrimmed, his face slightly blotchy. Alarm shot through me. "What happened? Is your ankle worse? Should we go to the hospital?" No. He wiped at his face quickly, trying to compose himself. "The ankle's fine. It's not that." I sat down beside him, close enough that our knees touched. "Then what is it? Talk to me." He stared at his hands for a long moment, his jaw working like he was trying to find the right words. The music played on something about roads not taken, about courage and fear. "I had coffee with Marcus today," he said finally. Marcus, his ex-girlfriend's brother. They'd stayed friends after the breakup, one of those rare cases where it actually worked. "Okay," I said cautiously. "How'd that go?" He came out to me. Carter's voice was barely above a whisper. "Told me he's gay, that he's known for years but was too scared to tell anyone." And watching him sitting there, being so brave, finally living his truth. His voice cracked. I realized I'm a fucking coward. My heart was pounding. What do you mean? He looked at me then, and the raw vulnerability in his eyes nearly broke me. I'm bisexual, Alex. The world tilted. Everything I thought I knew rearranged itself into a new configuration. I've known since college, he continued, words tumbling out now like a dam breaking. Maybe before that, but I was really good at not thinking about it. At convincing myself it didn't matter, that I could just only date women and ignore half of who I am. And it worked for a while. Or I thought it did. I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight, my mind racing. But then Marcus sat there and told me about finally accepting himself, about how terrifying and amazing it was to stop hiding, and he laughed bitterly. I felt so ashamed, because I've been hiding for years, from my family, from my friends, from you, Carter. Let me finish. Please. He took a shaky breath. You're my best friend. You know everything about me. Or I thought you did. But I've been keeping this huge part of myself locked away, and it's been eating at me. Especially lately. Why? Especially lately? I asked, though part of me already knew. He looked at me with such intensity I could barely breathe. Because of you. The admission hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. Me. My voice came out strangled. When you helped me shower that first night, he ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself. God, this is going to sound crazy. But the way you touched me, so gentle and careful, the way you looked at me, it made me feel things I've been trying not to feel for 3 years. 3 years. The exact amount of time we'd known each other. What kind of things? I whispered. Alex. He said my name like a prayer, like a confession. I think I've been falling for you since the day we met, and I've been so scared of ruining our friendship, of losing you, that I convinced myself I could just keep it buried. Keep pretending I only saw you as a friend. My hands were shaking. You're falling for me? I'm in love with you, he corrected, his voice breaking. I've been in love with you for so long, I can't remember what it felt like before. And having you here this week, taking care of me, being so close but not able to tell you, tears were streaming down his face now. I can't do it anymore. I can't keep lying to you. Even if it means losing you, I need you to know the truth. I stared at him, this man I'd loved in secret for 3 years. This man who just shattered every assumption I'd made about our relationship. My mind couldn't process it. It felt too big, too impossible, too much like every daydream I'd forbidden myself from having. Say something, he pleaded. Please, even if it's to tell me you don't feel the same way, that I've made everything weird, that you need space. Just say something. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My heart was racing so fast I felt dizzy. This was the moment. This was what I'd wanted for 3 years, without admitting it to myself, and I was terrified. I started, then stopped. How did I put this into words? How did I tell him that every time he smiled at me, I felt it in my chest? That I'd memorized the exact shade of his eyes in different lights? That washing his hair had felt like the most sacred thing I'd ever done? Carter's face crumpled at my silence. It's okay, he said quickly, wiping at his tears. I knew this was a long shot. I just needed to tell you. We can pretend this never happened. Go back to how things were. I'm in love with you too. The words burst out of me, loud and desperate and true. Carter froze. What? I'm in love with you, I repeated, my own tears starting now. I have been since college. Since that night we stayed up until 4 a.m. talking about our deepest fears, and you told me about your mom's cancer scare and trusted me with something so personal. I fell for you that night, and I've been falling ever since. Alex, I thought I was hiding it so well, I continued, the words pouring out now. I thought if I just never said anything, never acted on it, I could keep you in my life. Because having you as a friend was better than not having you at all. But this week, I shook my head. Helping you shower, taking care of you, being this close. It's been torture. Because all I wanted was to tell you how I feel, and I was so sure you'd never feel the same way. How could I not? He whispered. You're everything, Alex. You're the first person I want to talk to when something good happens. You're who I trust with my worst moments. You make me laugh when I want to cry. You merely see me in a way no one else ever has. We were both crying now, the years of hidden feelings spilling out between us. So what happens now? I asked. Carter reached for my hand, lacing our fingers together. His palm was warm, slightly damp from tears, and the simple touch sent electricity through my entire body. Now, he said softly, I'd really like to kiss you. If that's okay, I answered by closing the distance between us. The first touch of his lips against mine was gentle, tentative, a question being asked. I responded by cupping his face in my hands, deepening the kiss. Answering with everything I'd held back for 3 years. He tasted like salt from tears, and something sweet I couldn't name. His hands came up to thread through my hair, pulling me closer, and I let myself get lost in him, the warmth of his mouth. The soft sound he made against my lips, the way he kissed me like I was precious, like he'd been waiting for this just as long as I had. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. I can't believe this is real, he murmured. Me neither, I admitted. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up. If you are dreaming, I'm having the same dream. He kissed me again, softer this time. Stay tonight, please. I don't want you to leave. I'll stay, I promised. I'll stay as long as you want me. Forever might be too long to ask. For on the first night, he said with a watery laugh, then it's good I'm offering it anyway. Spent the rest of the evening on that couch, wrapped around each other, making up for years of not being able to touch the way we wanted. We kissed until our lips were swollen. We talked about everything when we first realized we had feelings, the times we almost said something, the jealousy we'd hidden when the other dated someone else. Remember Jessica? Carter asked, his fingers tracing patterns on my arm. Your girlfriend's sophomore year? The pre-law student? I broke up with her because of you. His admission was quiet, almost embarrassed. We were at that party at Mike's house, and I saw you talking to that guy. What was his name? Blonde, wore too much cologne? Derek, I supplied, remembering. We went on like 2 dates. 2 dates that made me insane with jealousy, Carter said. I couldn't stand watching you with him. Couldn't stand the thought of you kissing him, being with him. And I realized I couldn't keep dating Jessica while feeling that way about someone else. About you. I had no idea, I breathed. I thought you two just wanted different things. We did. She wanted someone who could love her completely, and half my heart already belonged to my best friend. He kissed my temple. What about you? Was there anyone? Plenty of almosts, I admitted. But I'd always find some reason to pull back. They were too serious too fast, or not serious enough, or we didn't have enough in common, or we had too much in common. Really, the problem was always that they weren't you. Carter pulled me closer, and I rested my head on his chest, listening to the steady thump of his heartbeat.
I need to tell my family, he said eventually.
About being bi. About us. How do you think they'll react? My mom will be surprised, but supportive. She's always been open-minded. My dad. He sighed. He'll struggle with it. He's old school, but he loves me, and I think eventually he'll come around. My sister will probably say finally and remind me she's known since I was 16. Laughed. She knew? Older sisters always know everything. It's annoying. He paused. What about your family? They'll be thrilled. I smiled against his chest. My mom has been asking me when I'm going to realize I'm in love with you for 2 years now. She said it's obvious from the way I talk about you. Smart woman, the smartest. We fell quiet again, comfortable in the silence. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm, but inside Carter's apartment, time felt suspended. This perfect bubble where we were finally allowed to be ourselves with each other. I should probably help you shower, I said eventually, reluctantly. It's getting late. I suppose. He didn't move to get up, though now that we've established we're crazy about each other, showering together might be significantly more complicated. Heat flooded my face, We don't have to, I mean, if it's too much, I can. He silenced me with a kiss. Hey, we'll figure it out. Together, just like we figure out everything else. Together, I echoed, loving the sound of that word. The shower was different this time. Still careful because of his injury, but charged with new awareness. We were allowed to look now, allowed to appreciate, allowed to let our touches linger just a bit longer than necessary. I helped him sit on the tub's edge like before, but when I started washing his hair, he pulled me closer, settling between his knees so I could reach better. The position put us face to face, intimate and close. And I could see every water droplet on his eyelashes, every freckle on his nose. "You're so beautiful," he murmured, looking up at me with wonder. I've always thought so, but now I'm allowed to say it. "You're one to talk." I ran my soapy fingers through his hair, and he made that same soft sound that had undone me the first time. "That noise you make when I touch your hair drives me crazy." His eyes darkened. Good to know. We took our time, savoring every moment, every touch that we were now allowed to make mean something. When I helped him dry off, he pulled me close and kissed me, slow and deep, tasting like rain and promises. "I love you," he said against my lips. "I love you too." The words felt natural, like something I'd been saying my whole life. We settled into his bed afterward, another first. He usually slept in sweats and a t-shirt. But tonight, he'd chosen soft sleep shorts and nothing else. And I tried very hard to be respectful, while also appreciating the view. "You can look," he said, echoing his words from that first shower. "We're together now. You're allowed," so I looked. I let myself really see him, the strong lines of his shoulders, the way his chest rose and fell with each breath, the vulnerability in his eyes that matched my own. "Come here," he said, opening his arms. I went willingly, fitting myself against him like I'd always belonged there. He wrapped his arms around me, and I rested my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow and steady. "This is real, right?" I whispered into the darkness. "This isn't just... We're not going to wake up tomorrow and regret this. This is the realest thing in my life," he promised, his lips brushing my forehead. "I've spent 3 years regretting not telling you. I'm done with regret. From now on, it's just honesty. Just us." "Just us," I repeated, letting the words settle into my bones. We talked until we couldn't keep our eyes open anymore about the future, about telling our friends about what this meant for us, about stupid things too, like what we'd have for breakfast, and whether we should finally watch that series everyone kept recommending. Normal things? Couple things. I fell asleep in Carter's arms, feeling safer and more complete than I ever had in my life. The last thing I remember before drifting off was him pressing a kiss to my temple and whispering, "Sweet dreams, Alex. I love you." And for the first time in 3 years, I let myself dream about us, about a future where I didn't have to hide what he meant to me, about mornings waking up next to him, about lazy Sundays and inside jokes and building a life together, about love, finally spoken aloud. Alex and Carter have finally confessed their love. But what challenges await them as they navigate their new relationship? Fin continue 328 out, in the emotional conclusion part 3. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sunlight streamed through Carter's bedroom window, warm and golden, painting patterns across the sheets. I woke slowly, awareness returning in pieces, the softness of the pillow, the sound of birds outside, the unfamiliar room. Then I felt the warm weight of an arm across my waist, and everything from last night came flooding back. "Carter," I turned, carefully not wanting to wake him, and found him still asleep beside me. His face was peaceful, younger in sleep, his dark lashes casting shadows on his cheeks. His lips were slightly parted, and I could feel his breath, warm and steady against my skin. I'd woken up next to people before, but never like this. Never with this feeling of rightness, of coming home. His eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, he looked disoriented. Then his gaze focused on me, and the most beautiful smile spread across his face. "Hi," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "Hi yourself." "This is real," he said, like he was testing the words. "Last night actually happened." It did. I reached up to brush a strand of hair from his forehead. Any regrets? Only that we wasted 3 years. He pulled me closer, nuzzling into my neck. We could have been doing this the whole time. We weren't ready then, I said, believing it. We needed those 3 years to build the foundation, to become people who were ready for this. When did you get so wise? I teach teenagers. You learn patience and perspective, or you don't survive. He laughed against my skin, the vibration sending pleasant shivers down my spine. What time is it? I glanced at his alarm clock. Almost 9. We should probably stay right here, he finished. We should definitely stay right here. Don't you have physical therapy at 11? He groaned. Don't remind me. That's 2 whole hours away. I want to pretend the outside world doesn't exist for at least another hour. So we did. Stayed tangled in his sheets, trading lazy kisses and whispered confessions, making up for all the times we'd wanted to touch and couldn't. His hands traced patterns on my back. Mine mapped the constellation of freckles on his shoulders. We learned each other in the golden morning light, and it felt sacred. Eventually, reluctantly, we got up. Made coffee while Carter showered. He'd gotten good enough with the crutch that he could manage alone if he was careful. When he emerged, damp-haired and smiling, wearing sweatpants and my hoodie that he'd apparently stolen at some point, my heart did something complicated in my chest. Is that mine? I asked, gesturing to the gray hoodie. He had the grace to look sheepish. I borrowed it 6 months ago and forgot to give it back. It's really comfortable. You can keep it. Looks better on you anyway. We had breakfast on his tiny balcony, toast and coffee, and the oranges I'd bought earlier that week. The October air was crisp and cool. Autumn settling into the city like a comfortable blanket. Below us, the street was beginning to wake up joggers passing by. A dog walker managing for leashes, someone washing their car. Normal life. Continuing on, while my entire world had shifted. We should talk about us, Carter said eventually, setting down his coffee mug. About what we want this to be. What do you want it to be? Everything, he said simply. I want to take you on proper dates. I want to hold your hand in public. I want people to know you're my boyfriend. If that's what you want too. Boyfriend. The words sent warmth flooding through me. I want that. All of it. Good. He reached across the small table to take my hand. So I've been planning our first date for approximately 3 years. I have a whole list. I laughed. You do not. I absolutely do. It started as the things I wish I could do with Alex's list that I told myself was just friendship goals. But looking back, he shook his head ruefully. It was always a date list. I was just too scared to admit it. Tell me, I urged, charmed by this revelation. Well, there's the botanical gardens in the spring when the cherry blossoms are blooming. That art gallery you mentioned wanting to visit. That Italian restaurant on 5th Street, the one with the candles and the live music on weekends. That drive-in theater an hour outside the city that plays classic films. He counted them off on his fingers, his expression earnest. Cooking together. Teaching you to play basketball, even though you're hopeless at sports. Having you read to me your voice is amazing, and I always loved when you'd read passages from books you were teaching. My throat felt tight. You really thought about this? I thought about you all the time, he admitted. Every single day. It was exhausting, actually. Loving you and not being able to say it.
Right.
So we'll do all of it, I decided. Every single thing on your list, and we'll make new lists together. His smile could have lit up the whole city. Physical therapy was educational. I'd insisted on driving him. He'd been taking ride shares. But that seemed ridiculous now that I was officially his boyfriend. That word still made me giddy. I sat in the waiting room while he worked with his therapist, answering emails and grading papers, but my mind kept drifting to Carter, to the future we were building, to how surreal and wonderful it all felt. When he emerged 45 minutes later, sweaty and tired but moving better, he found me and kissed me without hesitation. Right there in the physical therapy office, in front of the receptionist and the other patients and everyone, claiming me, claiming us. Hi, he said when we broke apart. Show off, I murmured, but I was grinning. In the car, he was quiet, his expression thoughtful. What are you thinking about? I asked as we pulled out of the parking lot. Want to tell my family this weekend, he said. about being bi, about you. Both things together. I don't want to hide anymore. My heart squeezed. Are you sure? We can take this slow, ease them into it. I've been hiding who I am for years, Alex. From them, from everyone. And now that I'm finally being honest, I don't want to waste another second pretending. He looked at me, his eyes intense. You're the best thing in my life. I want them to know that. Okay, I agreed, trying to ignore the nervous flutter in my stomach. Do you want me there? Or would you rather do it alone? I want you there. I need you there. He took my hand, lacing our fingers together. We're a team now. We face things together. Together, I echoed, squeezing his hand. That night, Carter video called his family. We'd set up his laptop on the coffee table, both of us sitting on the couch close enough to be in frame together. His mom and dad were in their living room in Portland, his sister calling in from her apartment in Seattle. It was their usual weekly family call, but Carter had asked them all to make sure they had time. Everything okay, honey? His mom asked, immediately picking up on his nervous energy. Is your ankle worse? No, Mom. The ankle's fine. He took a breath, and I felt him square his shoulders. I have something I need to tell you all. Something important. His dad frowned. This sounds serious. It is. But it's good at least. I think it's good. Another breath. His hand found mine under the laptop screen, and I squeezed it encouragingly. I'm bisexual. I've known for a long time, but I've been scared to tell you. Scared of disappointing you, or changing how you see me, or I don't know. All of it. The silence that followed felt endless. His sister broke it first. Carter, I love you. Thank you for trusting us with this. It doesn't change anything. You're still my annoying little brother. Us. His mom had tears in her eyes. Oh, sweetheart. Thank you for telling us. I'm sorry you felt like you had to hide this. You could never disappoint us. Never. His dad was quiet, his expression unreadable. Carter's hand tightened around mine. Dad, he prompted softly. Processing, his dad said finally. This is unexpected. I need some time too. But you're my son. That doesn't change. We'll figure this out. It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it wasn't rejection either. Carter's shoulders relaxed slightly. There's more, he continued. I'm in a relationship with my best friend Alex. He's everything to me. And I wanted you to meet him properly. As my boyfriend. I leaned into frame, waving awkwardly. Hi, everyone. I know we've met before, but yeah, different context now. His mom's face lit up. Alex? Oh, I always thought you two had something special. The way Carter talks about you. It makes so much sense now. His sister was grinning. I knew it. Didn't I tell you, Mom? I literally said last year that Carter was in love with Alex. You did not, Carter protested, his face flushing. I absolutely did. You were talking about him for 20 minutes straight? It was so obvious. Even his dad cracked a small smile at that. You do talk about him a lot, son. The tension eased as we talked about how long we'd had feelings for each other. How we'd finally confessed what our plans were. His mom asked me about my teaching job. His sister demanded details about our first kiss, which we declined to provide in detail to Carter's relief. His dad remained mostly quiet, but he was listening. And that was something. When the call ended an hour later, Carter slumped against me. Exhausted but relieved. That went better than I expected, he said. Your family loves you? They're amazing. My dad's struggling. He needs time. But he'll come around. Kissed his temple. You were so brave. Had you with me. That made it possible. The following weeks were a blur of happiness punctuated with normal life. Carter's ankle healed slowly but steadily. I continued teaching, grading papers, and dealing with teenage drama. We went on our first official date, the Italian restaurant, with candlelight and live music, where we held hands across the table and Carter looked at me like I'd hung the moon. We told our friends, who ranged from finally, to we all knew already to wait. You two weren't dating this whole time. We navigated the weird logistics of transitioning from best friends to boyfriends whose apartment we stayed at. How to merge our routines, how to balance couple time with friend time and alone time. We had our first argument about the correct way to load a dishwasher. Of all things, and our first makeup, which involved apologies, communication, and really excellent kissing, closing parenthesis. We learned each other's rhythms. I discovered that Carter was grumpy in the mornings until he'd had coffee, that he stress cleaned when anxious, that he liked to be the little spoon even though he'd never admit it. He learned that I needed quiet time to recharge after social events, that I organized my bookshelves by color and got genuinely distressed when they were disrupted, that I had strong opinions about correct grammar usage. We built a relationship on the foundation of our friendship, and it was messy and wonderful and real. 3 months after that first shower, on a cold December evening, we were back in Carter's apartment, though it had become our apartment in practice, if not officially. We'd just finished decorating for Christmas, the small tree in the corner twinkling with lights, and we were sprawled on the couch, watching a terrible holiday movie. Carter's ankle was completely healed now. He'd returned to basketball, to his normal life. He didn't need my help with anything anymore, but I was still here. We both were. "I've been thinking," he said during a commercial break. "Dangerous," I teased. He poked my side. "Serious thought. Your lease is up in February, right?" "Yeah. Why?" "Move in with me. Officially." He turned to face me fully, his expression earnest. "Your stuff is already here half the time anyway. You're here most nights. And I want this. The whole domestic thing. Coming home to you, building a life together. All of it." My heart felt too big for my chest. "You sure? That's a big step. I've never been more sure of anything." He cupped my face in his hands. "I love you, Alex. I want forever with you. And forever has to start somewhere, so why not here? Why not now?" I kissed him, pouring 3 years of love and 3 months of happiness and all my hope for the future into it. "Yes," I said when we broke apart. "Yes to moving in. Yes to building a life together. Yes to all of it." His smile was brighter than all the Christmas lights in the city. Later that night, after we'd celebrated our decision appropriately, we lay in bed talking about the future, about paint colors and furniture arrangements, about whose books would go where, about weekend routines and dinner habits. Normal things, beautiful things. "Can I tell you something?" Carter said, his fingers tracing absent patterns on my shoulder. "Ain't always. That day I hurt my ankle when I asked you to help me shower. Part of me knew what might happen." His voice was quiet, reflective. Not consciously, maybe. But some part of me knew that letting you that close, letting you see me that vulnerable, might crack open all the things we'd been keeping hidden. "Are you saying you deliberately injured yourself to seduce me?" I asked with mock horror. "Because that's some next-level planning," he laughed. "No, the injury was genuine and stupid. But asking you for help, instead of literally anyone else, maybe that was my subconscious finally getting tired of hiding." "Well, thank God for your subconscious, then. And your sprained ankle, weirdest meet cute ever." "We didn't meet in the shower, Carter. We met 3 years ago, true. But that shower was when we really found each other. When we stopped pretending." He pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "Best shower of my life." I thought about that night, my nervousness, the intimacy, the trust in his eyes. How I'd thought helping him was just being a good friend, not realizing I was actually stepping into my future. "Mine too," I agreed. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, the Christmas lights from the tree casting colorful shadows on the wall. Outside, snow had started to fall, blanketing the city in quiet white. Inside, we were warm and safe and exactly where we belonged. The botanical garden was in full bloom. Cherry blossoms creating a canopy of pink and white above our heads. Petals drifted down like snow, catching in Carter's hair, and I reached up to brush them away without thinking, the gesture so natural now. So much a part of us. "First thing on my list," he said, gesturing to the blossoms around us. "Cherry blossoms in spring. I've been waiting 6 months for this. Worth the wait?" He pulled me close, kissing me right there on the garden path, not caring who saw. When we broke apart, both smiling, he said, Everything's worth the wait when it's you. We walked hand in hand through the gardens, stopping to admire the flowers, to take photos, to steal kisses under the blooming trees. An older couple smiled at us as they passed. A little girl pointed and told her mom about the pretty flowers. The world continued around us, beautiful and accepting and full of possibility. My dad called yesterday, Carter mentioned as we sat on a bench overlooking the koi pond. Yeah. How's he doing? Better. He asked about you, about us. Wanted to know if we were happy.
Yes.
Carter's smile was soft. I told him we are, that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And he said he's glad I found someone who makes me light up the way you do. My throat felt tight. Really? He's trying, Alex. It's slow, but he's getting there. Carter laced our fingers together. Everyone is. My whole family adores you. Your mom texts me memes now. Your dad invited me to golf. You don't golf. I'll learn. For family bonding, he kissed my knuckles. The point is, we're building this life together. And it's better than anything I imagined during those 3 years of pining. No more pining, I agreed. Just living. Just loving, he corrected. We sat there as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. The cherry blossoms glowed in the fading light, and I thought about journeys, about the long road from friendship to love, about the courage it takes to be vulnerable, about the magic of finding someone who sees all of you and chooses you anyway, about a simple shower that changed everything. Okay, Alex, Carter said softly. Yeah, thank you. For coming over that night, for helping me, for seeing me, for loving me. I turned to face him fully, cupping his face in my hands the way he'd done for me so many times. Thank you for being brave enough to tell me the truth, for taking the risk, for choosing us. Always us, he promised. Always, I echoed, and they're surrounded by cherry blossoms and spring light and the promise of forever. We kissed. It was tender and sweet and full of all the things we'd found together: trust, vulnerability, courage, joy, love. The story of how I fell in love with my best friend didn't end in that shower. It began there. And every day since has been another page in the story we're writing together. A story of two people who were brave enough to stop hiding. A story of unexpected moments leading to expected forever. A story of us.